Women? Respectful.
Strong. Come a long, long way.
And equal rights for women.
Strong women.
Power.
Power.
Equality.
Equality.
The future.
Equality. Power.
The status of women in the society of India has been fluctuating. It has gone through several changes during various historical stages and periods. Historically, women in India have passed through two stages in their lives: the period of liberation and the period of subjugation. At times, she enjoyed same position as man in intellectual and spiritual life, and at times she was suppressed and oppressed. From the Vedic age till today, her status and position has been changing with the passage of time. Worldwide, among many societies, India has seen some of the most adulting regard for women in Vedic culture. Women held very important positions in the Vedic period from 2000 to 500 BCE, also called as the Golden Age for women for many reasons. Women enjoyed a degree of freedom which allowed them to take part in public activities. They never observed parda. Widows were allowed to remarry. Divorce was, however, not permissible to them. Even men did not have the right to divorce their wives. Women studied the Vedic literature like men. Women had the right to remain spinsters throughout their life. Marriage was not forcibly imposed on them. Child marriages were unknown. Girls were given in marriage only after puberty and after completing their education. Women's rights were very much limited in inheriting property. A married daughter had no share in her father's property, but each spinster was entitled to one-fourth share of patrimony received by her brothers. Women had control over gifts and property, etc., received by a woman at the time of marriage, but the bulk of the family property was under the control and management of the patriarch. Thus, it could be generalized that the social situation was not in the favor of women, yet protection was given to them as daughters and wives. In the religious field, women enjoyed full rights and regularly participated in religious ceremonies with their husbands. Religious ceremonies and sacrifices were performed jointly by husband and wife. Marriage in the Vedic period was considered a social and religious duty and united the couple on an equal footing. They had the freedom of selecting their male partners through the ceremony of Swayamvar. Now the debate begins if all women really enjoy these privileges or it was all applicable to only some women. The ceremony of Swayamvar will also be questioned.
Was a very, gave women agency at any point because the very idea of the Swayamvar itself was very problematic in the manner in which it was carried out, right? The idea of Swayamvar technically would mean that the girl can choose, right, for herself a groom of her choice, right? But in this particular instance, the very organization of the Swayamvar itself precluded or prohibited that particular kind of a choice because very often it is the parent, and in these most instances, let's say the nobility, the king in that sense, would then organize a Swayamvar for his daughter. So in the first instance itself, it is not the daughter, the woman in that sense organizing a Swayamvar. The king would organize it, the male, right? He would organize it for his daughter. Choice is not necessarily offered to the woman, right? A particular test is conducted, and from whoever wins that particular test, right, gets the privilege of choosing, gaining the bride in that sense. So the woman in herself should be aware of, what is good for the country. The question of choice, free will, and all of that is limited in its instance.
The later Vedic society and civilization witnessed far-reaching changes in the sphere of caste system. The traditional four classes such as Brahmins, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudras still existed during this period. However, various subcastes sprang up in addition to the four castes. With regards to the condition of women in the later Vedic age, we find that the high position occupied by them in the age of the Rig Veda was no longer prevalent in this age. They lost their right of upanyaya and the right to perform religious rites and the right to join in political affairs. The marriage rules became discriminating towards the bride. The women lost their earlier freedom and equality which they enjoyed in domestic life. Polygamy became more general. Polyandry also appeared in a restricted way. People wanted to have a male child. Birth of a female child was unwelcome. Dowry system became popular. According to Manu, men always enjoy unchallenged authority over their wives. Child marriages, polygamy, and sati were prevalent at this time. Arthashastra imposed more stigmas on women as Kautilya dismissed women's liberation. They were not free even to go elsewhere without husband's permission. In the post Vedic period, women started being discriminated on the grounds of education and other rights. The child marriage emphasis on physical chastity of women and their unquestioned obedience to husband led to progressive deterioration of their position.
In the later Vedic period, the condition and status of women in the society changed drastically. According to you, what could be the reasons behind this?
See, yeah, after the Vedic period, the conditions have been changed, but not drastically. I don't think even during the 21st century that we are living in, there is a radical change is a requirement in terms of the women conditions in society. But yes, we will find a change uh, in terms of gradual change, I would say. From time to time, whenever rulers got changed, they tried to bring reforms through which the status of women in Indian society is uplifted to a next level, but not in a radical way. The major hitback was from Manusmriti, where the identity of women is being attached to the men. Liberalization did not take place, and it moved towards more conservatism. So after that, you will find the intervention of the Muslim rulers. They viewed the women with their own culture point of view and thought that some changes are required. But the unfortunate thing is that irrespective of any change in the ruler, they hardly try to touch upon the status of women and the culture. So that is how the conditions of women in Indian society, irrespective of any period, you hardly find any radical change.
So, if education was accessible to women during the post-Vedic era, do you believe that the scenario of the society would have been different?
Definitely, because education is a change agent. Education teaches you, gives you exposed to the world. It is through the education that you come to know about the world. So in that case, definitely education will uplift the woman. That is why women was denied to get access to education. It is a patriarchal society that prevents the women, because if you look at any Puranas or Vedas written by the male only, so accessed by the male. So knowledge is preserved within the hands of few male sections. So that is why women was kept outside of the knowledge. The moment they get the knowledge, they will try to question the system. So knowledge results into questioning. Knowledge results into democratizing the status of the gender. That's the term wants. That is why, in a very systematic way, in a very planned, institutionalizing methods they adopted to keep the woman down to the, should I say, below the woman, below the men's status.
Do you think the advent of caste system in the later Vedic period gave shape to practices like sati and child marriages?
Caste has a gender equation. Yes, definitely. I mean, this practice of sati is widely prevalent in certain castes. Okay, so you will find the connection between religion and the caste. Caste played the role of a means to establish the religion. Okay, so you can view the equation between caste and religion in that way. Definitely, even Britishers, uh, when the practice of sati was banned, they had no intention to bring any kind of reforms in the culture, especially even towards the women. The government of India at 1858, before they made that, the Queen clearly stated that we are not going to touch upon the cultural aspects of British India. We are concerned about the revenue and the administration. That is how we lost an opportunity to experience reforms from their hands. But anyway, wherever you will find social reformers like Raja Ram Mohan Rai and the people who closely worked with East Indian Company and later the British in India, they are able to convince the Britishers to bring reforms at their own level. One of the achievements is banning the practice of sati. But let me tell you, still the practice is, you will find the existence of the same.
Along with the invasion of the country by the Muslims, the position of women declined further. The child marriage became a rule to safeguard the chastity and honor of the girls. In many cases, the Hindu girls were given in marriage before the age of 9 or 10. This clearly indicated that the Hindu girls were denied education. Polygamy and parda system during the Muslim period, women dependent on men for external work was prevalent. Polygamy was very commonly practiced among the higher class Hindus. The Hindu widow spent her days in most pathetic conditions. The practice of child marriage resulted in rapid increase in the number of child widows. The death of a woman was preferred to her falling into evil hands. The practice of sati was thus encouraged, and the widows who did not perform sati were looked down upon by the society. Shankaracharya, however, stressed on giving equal rights to the status of women. During the 15th century, Ramanujacharya organized the Bhakti movement. The movement brought new trends in social and religious life of Indian women. Saints like Chaitanya, Nanak, Meera, Kabir, Ramdas, Tulsi, and Tukaram propagated in favor of women's right to worship. The Bhakti movement opened the gates of religious freedom to women. This in turn resulted in securing some social freedom too. First, the Parda system was abolished. Women became free from the circumscribed domestic life by attending the religious prayers like kirtans. Thirdly, a saint could not leave his wife or family and become a sannyasi without the consent of his wife. This emphasized the importance of wife in the grihastashram. Fourthly, women were entitled to education through the reading of religious books.
Have adopted certain cultures from our ancestors.
How do you think those cultures from the Vedic and the medieval period has affected in the way women are treated socially today? Today there are a lot of, although we say that women are getting empowered in a lot of places, but there are lot of women who are suppressed, who are violated day by day. So how do you think that has affected this?
Okay, so as far as I know, in Vedic period, the suffering of women was not this much. I mean, women were given an equal status in the society, and men and women were, they were actually appreciated for the biological and as well as the social cultural roles they play in the society. But then after a lot of cultures invaded India as a whole, and we are at the point today where suffering of women has increased a lot. I wouldn't say there was no suffering in the Vedic age, but I would just say that in the present times it has increased like 10 times more than that was in the Vedic age.
Continued since like ages now. So if you see there has been transition, like it's been kind of the women in the Vedic period they were treated equally, but then again with the invasion of different cultures, the women start suppressing. Okay, so with the transition of the periods, the treatment towards the women also changed.
Even there are so many discourses focuses around the body image, right? So a woman should be very slim, but she should have big breasts. She should have, a very beautiful and perfectly shaped hips and all that. So yeah, I get it that now people are campaigning against body shaming, but somewhere or the other, the media and the advertisement agencies, they reinforce these ideas that women are supposed to be in this particular manner.
Common mass. They have been mostly influenced by the media. It's like movies, advertisements. If you see like fair and lovely, it's like be fair and then you'll get a job in 3 years. You'll be well settled. You'll be well married. I mean that's what a girl needs. Just at the end, just get married and be a housewife.
It can be concluded by saying that the status of women has been fluctuating throughout the course of time, and the main stress now should be on promoting equality and elimination of such discriminatory practices. One of the basic objectives should be universal education of women, the lack of which tends to perpetuate the unequal status quo. There is a need for the change of values and behavior in the society, a need for positive socio-cultural and economic empowerment, and above all, the willpower and strong determination of women to rise above these. There has been marked a change, and it has been for the better. Many of its benefits, however, are yet to touch the majority.